One of the things that you want for your 3D character is to have a wire base or a wire armature. So at the front table there is a spool of wire and there are wire cutters that you can use. Now I would take a longer length of wire and I would use this to form it into the head, the body, and the legs of your character. You can see that I'm putting twists where I want to change the form, and then I am also taking some masking tape to reinforce those twists so they don't come apart. By using one piece of wire for this whole section of your character, it helps to make sure that it is strong and that the character stands upright versus if you have separate leg pieces, body piece, head piece, it's more likely that one of those parts could fall off of your character. Then you can see I took another piece of wire and I wrapped it around the shoulders to create a connection point, and then the rest of the wire becomes the arms. I can take scissors or I can take my wire cutters and cut it to the right length. You'll also notice for the feet that I took and I bent the extra wire to create the foot so that I can add some clay to it to help hold it up or give it a stronger base. On these needle nose pliers right in the center, that is where you can use the wire cutters to trim off any extra wire, and then you can fold the wire. I used foil to help build up the form because remember, I don't want it to feel like a flat character. Since I'm going to have a 3D space, I want my character to feel 3D. I also worked with foil to build up the shape of the arms and the torso. I personally don't like working with foil, so I also worked with newspaper and tape. If you have been in art explorations, you'll recognize this process as what we do to build figure sculptures. So you can also take and just tear and crunch up newspaper, add it to where you want it to go. So I did that for the torso, add some masking tape to help hold it into the form that I want it to be in, take a little bit more newspaper, wrap it around the stomach area to build up that part of the form, remove any extra, again, add tape to hold it in place. So you're going to keep doing this until you build up your form of your character. So I took some foil and I used it to build up the arms and also to build up the legs. I left the wire of the feet sticking out so that I can add clay again there to help hold it upright or help it stand. This helps prevent us from having to use too much clay. If it also allows our characters to hold their pose better by having the wire within the center of the character. Next, you're going to go get some modeling clay and you're going to pick out the colors that you want. Now you can combine colors and work with it in order to change the color. Modeling clay works better if you kind of soften it with your hands first. So you notice that I was kind of squishing it in my hands to begin. The heat from my hands makes it softer and more pliable. Then I was using my hand to kind of flatten it out. Or make like a thin layer of clay. Another thing that works well, as you can see with the pencil, it left ridges, but if you take like a marker or a rounded cylinder, it works really well as a rolling pin. So you can see I'm forming the front of the shirt, and then I'm going to take some more clay. I'm going to do the same thing. Again, I'm working it in my hands to make it softer and easier to work with. And then from there, again, I can use my hands to kind of flatten it like I would with a slab of clay, and then I can take my pencil or a marker and roll it out. So that way I get a nice thin piece of clay. This helps us stretch our clay so that it can last longer. We have a limited amount of clay, so we don't want to be wasting any of it. And then I can take this thin slab that I just created and I'm going to place it on top of my armature or my figure, and there are some plastic tools that you can use to cut the clay. So there are some modeling tools over there. So I took and I cut it down to the size that I would need for the back part of the shirt, and then you can see I'm pressing and then using my fingers to blend or smooth over where it connects. Now, one thing to know about this clay, it is an oil-based clay, so if you leave it on your set or your backdrop, it can leave and cause discoloration of the paper. So just something to watch for. Please make sure that you wipe down your table or work on a piece of paper so that the clay doesn't stick to your table once you're done with it. And then you can see I'm taking the rest of my clay here, again rolling it out to make enough for sleeves for my character. And then I will take and wrap it around the arms And I could do the same process. So if I wanted to use other materials, maybe I would just use the clay to build the face and the hands and the feet. And I could even take some fabric or felt and the hot glue gun and use it to attach clothes to the character. So you're not limited to just using clay for this, but the wire within is very, very key to enable your characters to move and hold their poses as you are filming.